Hey, everyone out there in podcast land, this is Jay Hollywood, and I am here to let you know about our sponsor, San Marcos in Oklahoma City, one of the best Mexican restaurants around. If you want to go there and eat, have some margaritas. If I'm not mistaken, they have a night where you can have unlimited margaritas. Just go up in there and get your margarita on, and they serve cheese, salsa, tortillas, and relish. What other restaurant gives you that much food before you even make your order? Go make your place and your favorite Mexican restaurant, San Marcos in Oklahoma City. Tell them the Cine-Men Movie Podcast sent you, and you'll get 10% off your order. That's right, 10%. Just tell them we sent you to the best Mexican restaurant in the city.
Podcast. Damian Chapa, Vatos Locos Forever.
You like that, old man? You want a piece of me?
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Good morning, Vietnam!
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
You do? You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
There's no crying in baseball. This is wrong, bitch. Hey, the Schwartz be with you.
I am the father.
At you, my pretty.
Take your stinking paws off me.
May the force be with you.
Here's Johnny.
What up? Happy Monday, moviegoers. Welcome to episode 340. Welcome to Sahara. You're listening to another new episode of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Juan, and I'm joined by the other half, Jay.
What up out there in podcast land? How's everybody doing out there?
What up? Monday.
What up?
It's a Monday, and you know what that means. It means another new episode of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Hanging out here.
Us sitting there dissecting movies like we love to do.
Man, not only are we dissecting movies today, but maybe dissecting a little too hard. But
I don't think so on this movie. But hey,
yeah,
we'll talk about it when we get there.
Speaking of the Sahara, Jay, we had our own Sahara here in Oklahoma City a few days ago with this wind.
Oh, dude, I was sitting outside and it sat there and sounded like a dinosaur's roar off in the distance. I'm sitting there just chilling on the porch, and it's just roar. I'm like, what the heck? And you can sit there and watch garbage cans going down the street. Hell, there was all kinds of trash. I seen like 30 trash bags floating down the street. I'm like, what's going on today? Because they said that we were supposed to have up to 90-mile-an-hour wind in Oklahoma.
Yeah,
we are located in Oklahoma City, 90 miles an hour in Oklahoma City with no tornado.
It was insane, but it was a week not to remember or not to forget. But I was thinking about it, I'm like, what a way to promote this movie this weekend with us talking about the weather and Sahara. And man, they must have been in a real life desert storm when they were going through this movie, because it wiped out.
From what I understand,
it wiped out everybody's story arc in this movie.
From what I understand on the filming of this movie, it was a pain in the ass times 1,000. It made Mad Max Fury Road look like a walk in the park.
If you guys want to check out what we talked about last week, me and Zach had a conversation all about I Love You, Beth Cooper. Go check that out wherever you listen to podcasts at. The link is in right here in the social medias. If you're listening out in podcast land, it's facebook.com/the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. The Instagram is all one word, Cine-Men Movie Podcast. The X formerly known as Twitter, is at Cine-Men405. Or you can email us. Just send us an old-fashioned email. You got mail. CINEMEN921 at gmail.com. That's Cine-Men921 at gmail.com. There you can find all of our links to past episodes. Go check out the archives. And listen last week as me and Zach talked about I Love You, Beth Cooper. This week is Sahara. But before we get to that, Jay, do you have any?
We're continuing the reconnaissance, right? This is what this movie. Yes.
Yeah, the reconnaissance.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. But as far as recent watches, is that what we're getting into?
Technically, you chose this movie, so just remember that.
I did, and we'll get to that when we review it. And I'll discuss my infinity to sit there and just like try to sit there and like, you don't like me unless you choose this movie.
Yeah.
Story.
So, what about what you check out this week?
My recent watches have been, I went through the entire, I stopped at Superman Returns. I didn't watch Batman, Superman, blah, blah, blah. Going to the Zack Snyder DC universe. I stopped.
Gross.
I don't mind them. I'm a big comic book nerd. I don't mind them. So they don't bother me any. They have their flaws, but I don't mind them. But I went through Superman 1 through 4 of the originals, and then I went through on Superman Returns, and I went through one special edition disc set that has over, I probably put it at about 30 hours. Yes, I said 30 hours of behind the scenes footage. It has an episode of the George Reeve Superman. That was 55 minutes. I watched that. It was him versus the Mole People. There were like 9 or 10 Max Fleischer Superman episodes.
So
I watched every single one of them.
Okay, so overall, what do you think about the Superman movies? Like, you watched the first 4.
I'll get there, but then there was a 3-hour documentary on the making of Superman Returns, and then an 1.5-hour documentary just on the legacy of Superman that I watched. It's called Up and Away, and it is sold as an individual DVD. You can't just buy this individual DVD. The rest of them come exclusive to this pack. Superman 1, loved it. Because I watched both versions. I watched the original and the special extended cut. I didn't watch the TV cut because that's 3 hours long, because that's not included on this disc set. But then I watched Superman 2 and the Richard Donner's cut of Superman 2, and Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut, way better, less comical, and just more serious, and it fits in with the tone of number 1. 3, I didn't mind 3. Richard Pryor grew on me in this movie. And, Superman fighting Clark Kent or Superman himself, in today's standards, that was cringy and just, it was bad. It was real bad. There are a lot of good parts of 3, but there are way more bad parts to 3. But sitting there saying that 3 is better than 4 is, yes, 3 is way better than 4. 4 was just a complete shit show. I'm sorry to use that word, but
how dare you?
I know, I'm sorry, but it was a straight. I'm glad Gene Hackman was back after we got the Lex Luthor clone in part 3, but it just felt just bleh. Like there was no, I'm Nuclear Man. And it's like, who gives a shit that you're Nuclear Man? I'm Batman. Who cares?
Yeah,
at this point, and the special effects on part 4, my God, I could have sat there and probably done better in my garage making those special effects, because Superman flying looks nowhere near as clean and as beautiful as it does in the first 2.
Yeah, no. I watched those, a little bit before you did, and I thought they were okay. They definitely decrease as, 1, 2, 3, and 4. But
oh yeah, the descent is very hardcore.
Yeah. What else did you check out? Anything else, or just the Superman?
I watched a ton of YouTube reels, but I got stuck on one guy in particular. His name is Ray, and he does true crime stories where he gives anywhere from a 7-minute to a 20-minute story on how people do certain crimes until they get caught. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it's basically a 15 to 20-minute murder mystery, extortion theory, or robbery, or something like that within about 15 minutes. And I've been stuck on those reels. And then today I tried. I'm going to sit there and stress this so damn much. I tried and tried and tried and tried to get through Sahara. And when you hear my review, you'll see why I tried to get through it.
So let's get ready to get into it. I'll speed
I
through
want to
my.
hear what your recent watches. Come on, what's up?
That's what I'm getting ready to get into.
Come on, get into it.
I finished the Pierce Brosnan 007 movies. I finished it completed.
Those are the better.
Die Another Day.
Ones,
they're all right. They're all right.
They're all right.
I started Casino Royale with Daniel Craig. Amazing movie.
The Daniel Craig collection is amazing.
It's the best one so far. I checked out a movie called Detention. You guys can hear my thoughts on that on this Thursday with a new episode of Friday the 14th podcast. I watched Sahara today. And then I checked out Mickey 17 last night. Mickey 17 was phenomenal. I really, really enjoyed it from start to end. Literally, I think it's one of the better movies already so far this young season. So, and it was good to see some people at a theater. So if you have time, you guys should go check out Mickey 17. If not, I highly recommend getting into the Daniel Craig movies. I believe they're on Paramount Plus. So go check them out. Let us know some of your let us know some of your recent watches in the comments, or send us an email. So if you guys have anything you want to recommend or reach out to us, send us in some emails, some comments, and let us know anything that you want to watch, or maybe recommend something that we can review one day. So go ahead, Jay.
You said that Mickey 17 so far. I haven't seen Mickey 17. I've seen Companion. Me and you both have a different contention for already best movie of the year. Mine's Companion, because I went into it completely blind. And again, with Mickey 17, besides multiple deaths or cloning, I have no idea what the hell is going on in that movie. And I think I think it looks great as well. What would you give it out of a 5-star?
Man, I gave it a 4.5.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What made it so high?
I went in completely blind as well, other than knowing about the multiples. But the world that Jong Bong-ho has created with this world, this situation, the actors, the characters, Mickey 17 is just phenomenal. And it's like they have their own lingo, they have their own situation on why they're going where they're going. The detail in just a 2-hour movie is phenomenal. And like no scene is wasted. And Robert Pattinson is amazing. So yeah, I absolutely love this.
The vampire has now became a great actor.
Man, he's been a great actor. I don't see anything. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with him in any of the Twilight movies. There's a few movies that he's done, independently. The Harry Potter movie. I don't see a bad movie. I
haven't seen The Lighthouse, but I heard he was great.
There's not a bad movie where he gives like a really bad performance in.
The only movie that I've heard that has a little bit of backlash is that 9/11 movie. We Will Remember. Do you remember that one?
That's amazing.
Remember Me.
That's an amazing movie.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll just shut the fuck up or shut up.
Pierce Brosnan is in that too.
Is he really?
Yep, he plays his dad. So, but let's get ready to get into the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about today. Today we are talking about Sahara with an April 8th, 2005 release date. IMDb currently has it at a 6.1 out of 10. a 37% on Rotten Tomatoes,
That's
41
correct.
41 Metacritic, and then a 2.7 on Letterboxd out of 5. With a budget of $160 million, it only grossed $119 million at the box office. Master Explorer Dirk, I'm sorry, Master Explorer Dirk. All right, this show's over. All right, it's over.
The dick has spoken.
Dirk Pitt goes to the adventure of a lifetime, seeking a lost Civil War battleship known as the Ship of Death in the deserts of West Africa, while helping a WHO doctor being hounded by the ruthless dictator. Starring Matthew McConaughey, Penelope Cruz, Steve Zahn. You also have Lambert Wilson in there, Rainn Wilson, Lenny James, Delroy Lindo, William H. Macy, and directed by Breck Einzer. So let's dig into this. This is a movie that you kind of picked out and you wanted to talk about.
Okay. Well, you put me on the spotlight. We needed. Okay, I'm gonna give you guys the backstory. We needed a McConaughey movie for the month of March, and the only thing that Jay, coming up with, like, we have to review Sahara because it's one of his worst reviewed movies. And I was like, when I remember watching it back in the day, I didn't think it was so bad. Warren, on the other hand, was like, no, dude, you're wrong. You're misinterpreting. It was shit. And I was like, nah, man, you're misinterpreting. I think it's a hidden gem. And he was right. It's a fucking turd.
Well, so let's
I fell asleep three times trying to watch this movie.
Let's not give it too much of a hate. I mean, there were some small
too much
good
of a hate.
Yeah, there were some small good things about it, but yeah, on the other hand, man,
asleep 3 times in 15 minutes, Juan.
This was my first time watching it in its entirety. So give or take, what's it been out, 20 years?
Yep. You said 2005, yep.
Yep. So not only did it make any money when it came out, but now it's just like, to me, I just felt with the budget being $160, everything about this movie, besides McConaughey, Penelope Cruz, Delroy Lindo, William H. Macy, besides the cast, which this is a stellar cast, by the way.
The cast, great. Ooh.
Yeah. Everything felt so generic about the storytelling.
The boat chase scene.
I
was like, they should have been dead like 1,000 times by now. It's like none of it made any sense practically.
Yeah, even the score to me was just really
generic.
Really generic. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was shot beautifully. It had
no. I agree with you there. It had beautiful composition.
It was on location. They shot in Africa. So the tone of the movies feels pretty good. It feels like a really good action flick. And the way it's shot, you're like, okay, maybe we're in for like another Mummy / shot at the desert kind of movie. But this movie
going into it with that opening scene when they're showing the boat being attacked and then drifting away into the fog and just drifting away into the night because they stop attacking. You know what that reminded me of? National Treasure. I was waiting for Nicolas Cage's character to come on screen and go, and that's when this character blah 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 blah. And there was only 5 coins made, and then it just goes off to some stupid like there's a plague. I'm like, okay, well, we went from a ship being lost to now there's a plague. No. I get that the plague plays along. All right, before we go any further, I fell asleep 3 times watching this movie. Once setting up.
You said that 3 times.
But I'm letting you know, once I was setting up and trying to pay attention, and I never finished the movie. I've seen it a long time ago. I just could not go back. It was so boring for me. And so I didn't watch it all.
So I felt like this was a tale of 2 different stories. And I know this is based off of a book. But like, it felt like they needed a reason to have a doctor in Africa along with the treasure hunters, and it's almost like one was there to put and save the other. And it's like, so they each have two different story arcs, and they're just crossing paths, which on the book, on paper, maybe it's a good book, but in the movie kind of just felt like it felt like it was 9 o'clock traffic, crisscross applesauce, and you're just trying to get to point A to point B.
They could have completely dropped the entire plague story with the dictator, and they could have just had it be a story of Matthew McConaughey, Steve Zahn, and just so happened Penelope Cruz gets caught up along in this journey where they're trying to find this lost ship. And that's it. We don't need anything else. We don't need anything else. Am I correct?
And the dictator could have had his own guys going and trying to get the ghost ship or the ship of death, and it could have been like a, almost like a Mummy situation where they're both going to Hamunaptra for the same thing, like a race. Right.
But who knows the instructions, directions there first? They could have intrigued all that. I didn't need the whole plague virus thingy. The only, and I think you agree with me, the only clever shot and beautifully shot moment in the movie is when Penelope Cruz is in the well and she covers up the glow stick and hides in the darkness while they look down at her. I thought that was one of the better shot moments.
Yeah. To me, and I mean, I don't know. Do we jump to
favorite? There.
Do we jump to favorite scene? Because to me, that was one of my favorite scenes throughout the whole movie.
Same here. The shallow boat scenes, I get, and McConaughey's supposed to be this big action star in this movie because the books are based on this guy named Dirk, and this is McConaughey. I didn't feel shit for McConaughey. Is that just me or is that you?
Well, I think this was one of his first, single action movie attempts
because they've done a lot of rom-com and
a lot of rom-com. So he never, in my mind, watching this movie today, it never went through my mind like, oh, he's the action star McConaughey, So I felt like this movie was going to be lackluster anyway. And I know we've dedicated an entire calendar year to this man, but this movie was not all right.
Not everything can be a winner. You have those stinkers, but those stinkers lead to incredible things, because without Sahara, he would have never had Interstellar. He would have never went on the reconnaissance, because he realized that he wasn't choosing the right projects. And from what I've understood, this movie making was so damn difficult because they ran into so many roadblocks. Like they had bad weather, they had all kinds of headaches that you normally wouldn't have on set, and that is some of the reason why for the end product.
You think that's why a lot of studios today, 20 some odd years later, you think that's why they don't shoot on location anymore?
It's more control. I agree, yes, because they can use what they call the volume. You know what the volume is, don't you?
Explain it to the listeners.
Okay, the volume is basically a big, huge set of movie screens where they have already rendered out the special effects, whether it be a star field, a ship flying at them, whatever you can imagine. They've already re-rendered it, and it looks legit, screen ready. And they project that on screens, and the actors then, instead of dealing with green screen or blue screen, they interact with those new screens, and it's basically a way for them to interact with something more tangible that's there. That's
very state of the art.
Yes, that's the volume.
And even with that being said, like, you can tell when some movies use it and don't use it, but like, I mean, yeah, it'll probably save you on the budget. You don't have to fight the weather or getting people across the states or something. But, 20 years ago now, man, I can't believe we're saying 2005 is a 20-year-old movie. But 20 years ago, shooting, a movie on location has now turned Sahara into a movie that it's okay, but one of the big positives was they shot on location.
Exactly, but it also falls in the same trappings that Mad Max Fury Road did. Mad Max Fury Road, it was scheduled to shoot for like a year and a half in South Africa, but it ended up being like 2.5 years because they kept getting stuck. And like, okay, before we go any further, tell me Penelope Cruz does not look like she works for Who. That woman should not work for the Who at all. At all. She is way too gorgeous to work at Who.
Well, now you're going down a whole nother road.
Am I being misogynistic?
That might be a different road we might have to take down on. But speaking of Matthew McConaughey, though, man, Sahara, even him being as charming and as witty as he could in this movie, I also feel like he had no chemistry with Steve Zahn or Penelope Cruz.
I felt the chemistry was Zahn because of their okay, here's one of my favorite things about one of my favorite things about the movie was.
What is it?
The opening after we got we got the scene with the battleship, right?
You're talking about the scene where it shows them hanging out together.
Well, not only that, it's the scene where they're sitting there scrolling through their apartment or house, wherever they live at, and they're showing pictures together. They're showing articles of like shipwrecks that they found, different things that they found, and it establishes a relationship, and it lets you know that they were in the military together. So that one lets you know they're good with firearms. They're good on their feet. Two, it lets you know that they're a very, very top, treasure hunter, and it also informs the audience. It delivers a lot of information, but after that, there's not much to go on. You have your moments between the two, but it seems like, at least from the part that I seen, they were separate the entire. Was it just me, or was they separate most of the time?
Yeah, because they were trying to go off and do their own thing. Same thing with Penelope Cruz. They only have like a few leading scenes together where they're all three apart. Even though I don't think it helped it any, I think that it honestly might have been an improvement, because all three of those people together with no chemistry, I mean, it's just going to create for a lackluster, overused scene, I think.
And
I'm just, even now talking about this movie, I feel like I almost feel like I want to lower my rating, but not yet. Not so fast, as Lee Corso says. Jay's dying.
I'm sorry, guys.
That movie is so bad, it's given him a cough since he's tried to finish watching it. He is in the Sahara Desert right now, so he is.
I'm breathing that dust in, and it's making me choke.
Yeah, he is live on location. Live on location.
But see, I don't know if it's me or if we're going through the McConaughey kind of catalog, if you'd say. This does not feel like a McConaughey movie.
No, I would almost. No, it does. I would. I
don't feel it does.
I would sit through Ghosts of Girlfriends Past numerous times more. I would sit through it more times than I would this. So I think next week, or not next week, next month is going to be a little bit better with a Time to Kill. A Time to Kill.
Oh yes, Joe Schumacher, Sandra Bullock, Samuel L. Jackson, Michael Crichton's Murder Mystery. What's up? Yes, I did it. I'll do it again. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Is that the movie we're reviewing?
That's a little spoiler for next month. But J-Man, other than the lackluster star power that this just everything was there on paper.
There's a lackluster star power. I'd say that everything, all the stars that were used in this movie, there was no. They just didn't feel like stars. That's what I'm saying. Penelope Cruz didn't feel like a star. Me and you earlier were sitting there talking about what do we know Steve Zahn from, and when I sat there and mentioned that he was in That Thing You Do, you were like, "Oh wow, he was in that."
And I mentioned riding in cars with boys.
And I was like, I don't remember that one. I do remember it because it has like Whoopi Goldberg and and all them in it, and Drew Barrymore. Isn't it Whoopi Goldberg?
I'm not sure.
Whatever. But I just doesn't it just doesn't feel that the cast that they had, the only one out of all the actors that came out smelling like they actually had a big role was William H. Macy. I don't know if that makes sense to you or not, but his role was definitive. That was the Admiral.
Everybody, it does.
Yeah.
But that's another positive thing about this movie is no matter what film William H. Macy is in, he's always gonna, like, his character that he's almost goes for every time is that no nonsense, get down to business kind of dude, just like in The Lincoln Lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have to say that was a big positive for me. I actually enjoyed a lot more William H. Macy than I did Matthew McConaughey.
I did too, because he felt like he had a purpose. McConaughey was just going through the motions. It was like
McConaughey's character felt forced.
That's what you said. You just said it right there. It sounded forced, and that's why right there I cannot sit there and say this is a McConaughey movie, because we don't get the same McConaughey like with any of his Heather movies. The only thing that makes this a McConaughey movie is his Texas accent, his kind of cockiness. Other than that, they changed everything about him. Yeah. Because every other movie after this, they went and they just like they
still also tried to make him super of one of those lady kind of guys too. He's a real I think that was a little
that kind of guy though.
He is, but I think in this movie they didn't just organically let him have it. I felt like everything was forced in this movie.
Organically, him and Penelope Cruz should have been in love. Organically, because he saved her at the beginning, and then when because there was a scene when they were leaving each other, I thought they were going to kiss. I legit thought they were going to kiss, and then they just like, well, I'll see you later. Then I'm like, whoa.
They said the same thing. Yeah, the same thing at the end of the movie too.
Yeah, it's like, what the hell? Like I said, I didn't see the last 40 minutes because I got bored with the movie because nothing made sense. Everything was just a cluster. It was scene after scene, in my opinion, a scene after scene of just stuff happening. Like nothing made sense.
Honestly, that was the same for the last 20, 30 minutes or so. Like you look up and a huge action scene happened. Matthew McConaughey pushes the main protagonist off of a plane, and even then you look up and you're like, dang, there's still 15 minutes left. And
what's gonna happen from here?
Yeah, and so the ending was, there a little predictable because you obviously know, but yeah, man, I just again, even with the creative action scenes that they wanted to put together, still was just not there. And for
the speedboat chase was ridiculous. How many shots were fired at those boats and nobody was hit? Like they were using what are those 50 cal? They were using 50 cals, and those things were shooting those boats, and nobody was hit. It was like, what the hell's going on here? Stop.
Again, that's just proves my point that something like this, is just overdone and over. I'm going to use a word. And I don't know how this feels, but I'm going to use the word over-sacrificed.
I'm going to sit there and say this
because
I was going to sit there and say this is a committee movie.
Yeah, that too. But this also feels like a cheap repeat of them trying to do smart, not museum theorists, but also a overhyped guys just looking for lost treasure, and it feels like a cheap rehash of Indiana Jones.
But see, the thing was that at least with Indiana Jones, there is realism. Yes, we're dealing with the Holy Grail. We're dealing with the the Cup of Christ. We're dealing with aliens, for God's sake. But there's still a ground of realism there, and that's what's sorely lacking. The tone of Sahara is all over the place. Where in one scene everything is dead serious. Everything is like it's played straight, and then the following scene is played as a joke. And it's like you can't have those same two tones. You got to pick something. And if they would have went a simpler route with the storyline, The storyline was too overcomplicated for what it needed to be. It just needed to be about a sunken ship in the middle of the Sahara Desert, and they're figuring out why in the hell it's happening and where in the hell it's at. We didn't need no water treatment story. We didn't need no warlord. We needed a villain, but the billionaire bad guy would have been plenty of a villain. We didn't need.
I don't even think we needed that. I think even if you I know Delroy Lindo was like somebody on the fence about it, but I even think somebody like that being against them finding the treasure would have been perfect. Okay, too.
There is a better movie in here if things are cut out. If that makes sense.
Yeah, because this did not need to be 2 hours and 11 minutes.
If there's about 30 minutes cut out and a few plot lines cut out, it would have been a great. It wanted to be the Mummy and National Treasure. What it ended up being was a complete mess. It was not what it aspired to be.
So we already gave our favorite scenes. We can do star rating. If you guys have seen this movie, let us know in the comments, email, message, let us know. I'm gonna give this movie a 2. And I think that's generous. After talking about it, I could almost go down to 1.5, but I think I'm still going to sit at a 2. And just know that I have no desire to ever watch this movie again.
Is this one of your lowest McConaughey rated?
Fool's Gold is up there.
I have never seen that. What'd you rate that one?
Probably a 1.
Ooh, damn. That's pretty bad.
So what about you?
I'm gonna go 1.5 just because I didn't finish it because it uninterested me. Like, this is the first time I've ever sat here on this podcast and been given a movie to watch and said, "Give me your opinion," and my opinion is cut short because I hated the fucking movie. I was just like, I'm done. I can't go through anymore because, like I've said before in the past, I'm a smoker. So I paused the movie. Here I think, oh, I got like 20 minutes left. And I pause it. It says 40 minutes left. And I'm like, nope, I'm good. I cannot sit through 40 more minutes of this dreadful shit.
Speaking of 40 minutes, we're not going to let you guys listen to this any longer of us bashing Sahara. So,
hell with it. We're going to go for another 2 hours.
You know, 2 and 1.5. I'm surprised you even gave it a 1.5. If a movie is so boring to me, I'm not going to finish it. It may not even get a star. It may get like a 0.5.
I had to at least give it a little bit because from what I did watch, you know, there were certain things I didn't mind. Like I said, there were certain scenes I didn't mind. There were certain acting choices, but a lot of it was just. Are you all right there, sir?
Had a little Chewbacca laugh come up on me.
But like I said, I had some likes and I had a lot of dislikes. But would I rewatch this movie again? The answer is no. Should we recommend this movie? Yes.
I'm just gonna. You know what? I'm just gonna.
No. I'm a physical media lover. Don't do it, even though it sucks. You can sell it for $1.
Yeah, I know. But, I'm just messing with you.
But even if you're a McConaughey fan, add this to your list. It sucks, but it is. I'm not saying it's worth it. I'm just saying check it out at least once. Hey, you might like it. You never know. We could be wrong,
we could be right. Yeah, you know what? We've been long on a lot of movies, and I think next week's episode is going to be a very good conversation because we're talking about the substance next week. And we're moving days. If you guys watch us live on Monday nights, we are going to move to Tuesday starting next week. So next week, 7 p.m., March the 25th. It's the last episode of March since we're moving to Tuesdays. So next Tuesday, March 25th, we're going to talk the substance. It was the Oscar that should have, could have, and probably would have given Demi Moore an Oscar win. But another actress had stolen it right from underneath her.
I will sit there and say, since I have seen the other movie, that
we'll save it for next week.
Discuss it next week because that's going to be a great debate on whether Demi should have won or not. Or I'll sit there and even say this before we get started. Margaret Haley, whatever the hell her name is, Quayle, she should have been nominated as well. I will leave it at that. On that,
we will leave it at that. That's a very good.
Because she done more pulling sometimes than Demi did.
We will discuss it next week when we talk an all new movie and an all new episode. Next week, Tuesday, 7 p.m. We review and talk about The Substance right here on the Cine-Men Movie Podcast.